How's everybody doing? We're back with another Q&A video, content that I received continuous praise for. So I thank all of you for posting questions and your continued support. Let's begin. I want to start out by apologizing to one viewer who asked a question which I read too quickly and misinterpreted. And this is the result of the fact that there are certain topics that trolls will use to push narratives. So when I see them come up, as I often do, I put them on the pay me no mind list or sarcastically answer them. This particular person wanted to know if I made more money legitimately or illegally when I was in the life. And the answer would depend on what time frame we're talking about. At times, I was making a great deal of money in construction. And besides my regular job, on most weekends, I worked 12-hour shifts for a completely different company. So besides my paycheck, I received an additional one. If things were going well on the street, besides the VIG I was collecting weekly from money lent out, I would make a lot of money. If things were slow in the street, I still had my legitimate money. But with both combined, legal and illegal, I was doing well for myself. Did the mob in your time get involved in stolen art or high-end valuables? And the inspiration for this question was the recent robbery in Paris. The mob in history did get involved in such large scores. However, none that I was aware of during my time. In the most recent NBA mob bust, involving 4 out of the 5 families, with the Colombos not being mentioned, do you think they're not popular with the commission at the moment, like the Bananos in the 80s? Look, I don't know the reasoning as to why they weren't involved, and don't believe it had anything to do with being unpopular with anyone. It could very well be they wanted no part of it. Who knows? Could a made man also be a full-fledged patch member of an outlaw biker gang like the Hells Angels? Anything's possible, but I highly doubt it. With the exception of the Freemasons, I don't believe anyone in the mob, here or in Italy, had dual allegiances. Do associates get looked after by the mob in prison? The answer really depends on who the associate is with. Certain members and crews will look out for a guy who's away. However, it should never be expected. It really depends on who's involved and how the associate is viewed. If there's potential that he's a future member, then he might be treated more favorably. Here's a related question. Did captains or bosses in prison try to pull rank on others? I'm sure this behavior takes place in federal prison. I did state time, so there was none of that going on, as we were all equal. Did street gangs respect the mob, or was there tension? I'm sure issues came up, but there's absolutely no comparison when you speak of the mob and a street gang. Although in the future, it's what they will most likely turn into, a well-organized street gang. Did you ever hear of any mafia activity happening in Baltimore? If there was any activity taking place in Baltimore, I was unaware of it. If a family has an underboss, why is a street boss required? And are they considered equals in the administration of the family? The answer is, there are 3 top positions in a family's administration. So if one position has a void, they typically fill it. An acting boss or street boss is part of the family's administration. During your time in that life, were there still waves of younger guys that would try to hang around you, or was that less frequent during your time as a member? I wouldn't specifically use the words waves of younger guys, but there was always younger guys around or trying to get close to many members, but nothing like years ago when I was growing up. Would you say your greatest advantage during a sit-down was your ability to read others or the way you communicated effectively and decisively? Both factors mentioned come into play without question, but if I had to pinpoint my greatest strength during a sit-down, it would absolutely be that I did my homework before sitting at a table. Paul Castellano held weekly meetings with all levels of members from his family and others, which was recorded and photographed. Why does Gotti receive slander for doing the same thing? I believe the reason people criticize John Gotti is he had certain members who flew under the radar begin reporting to the Ravenite that was heavily surveilled at the time. Members of other families would complain that Gotti made the entire area hot whenever he was in the city. The short answer is, people will always find fault no matter what it's compared to. Have you ever read any of the romance books about that life? And if so, what do you think about them? I have not read any mob-related romance books, so I have no opinion. Did you have any dealings with the Cavalcante family, and what was their size? I had no dealings with them, and respectfully, I never went about that life counting people. Did you ever meet Lucchese member Dominic Capelli, aka Nicky Pepsi? I don't believe we've ever met. At least I don't think we did. The reason I know the name is that one time Ernie Grillo asked me if I knew who his captain was because he was trying to get in touch with this Nicky Pepsi. Other than that, I had no dealings with him. Are Anthony Senna and Joey Testa on the shelf? Why would they be on the shelf? Both are loyal and highly respected members who went to prison for decades and luckily regained their freedom. It wouldn't make any sense to shelf them. What would happen if a civilian put money on the street with an associate and the associate reneged on their deal as far as splitting the VIG? Could the civilian go over the associate's head and approach who he's with and explain the situation? Would the wise guy tell him to fuck off and automatically agree with his associate? If the civilian was friends with another member, could he ask him to intervene on his behalf? Or would that make the situation worse for the civilian? Okay, if a civilian gets beat by an associate, he can try to go speak to whoever the associate is with and explain what's taking place. That member does not have to or may not speak with him. A better way to go about it is as you suggested. If a civilian's friendly with another wise guy, he should speak to him and see if he'll step in. But he too may not want to get involved. It could get tricky when money's the issue. Again, the answer all depends on who's involved. Certain guys will make the associate do the right thing, and some guys won't get involved. Keep in mind, we're talking about loan sharking, which is a crime. If a civilian ever approached me years ago, I wouldn't speak to him at all. You have to be very mindful that every conversation could possibly be recorded. Sometimes you'll see consigliere and then acting consigliere. What role does the acting play? The answer is simple. He would take on the role of the consigliere. Any acting position is no different other than an official title. Whatever role the position entails is what you're expected to do. From 1991 to 1999, the Gambinos did not have an underboss. Can you explain why this position was vacant? Is that a statement from Wikipedia? I don't know if they had someone in the position or not, but it's possible they had a panel and kept that position empty or had an acting that was unknown to Wikipedia. Was the Lucchese family your first choice, or did you want to be made into another family when you were younger? Well, I didn't have any family in mind, and the Lucchese family, with the exception of a few guys, I didn't really even know. I always state that that life picks you, not the other way around. Why do you think so many Italians moved from the city to the suburbs in the 90s and the 2000s? Actually, Italians began moving to the suburbs long before that, and mostly to make a better life for their children, as well as to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Do you know Lucchese associate Seth Trustman? I never met him. I do see he has additional arrests related to Lucchese members and associates, like in 2009 for gambling and another racketeering case involving loan sharking and bookmaking, as well as the latest arrest in last week's gambling bust. From the looks of it, he seems to be around the Bronx faction. How do guys prove themselves in Cosa Nostra today, since violence is almost totally gone? What does Cosa Nostra offer guys nowadays to want to become inducted? There are plenty of ways, other than violence, to prove one's loyalty. Cosa Nostra, I guess, offers what it's always had: belonging to an organization, respect, and the possibility of making money, etc. What Italian criminal group is more dangerous, the Camorra or the 'Ndrangheta? I would say they're both dangerous and have displayed a tendency for violence and murders in the past. But in my opinion, the 'Ndrangheta's reach goes further. With so many members going to prison, the older ones dying off, is Cosa Nostra getting to the breaking point where they can't fill open positions with capable good guys? Do you see crews and possibly families merging? The mob always has and always will find guys itching to become members. The quality's gone, but there are plenty of wannabes. Crews may merge, but as I always answered, I don't believe families will ever merge. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. Anyone who'd like to show their appreciation for videos like this, or more importantly, help me to continue making them, you can donate with the Super Thanks icon down below, or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me quickly mention my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. The site can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. And for the final question, in a life where respect is paramount, who is the most disrespectful guys in the mob? That's a good one. Respect, loyalty, and honor are what that life is supposed to be based on. Unfortunately, not everyone follows those principal foundations. I'll say this. My videos are typically 8 to 10 minutes long. If I had to start naming guys who were disrespectful in their life, we'd be here for hours. I've stated in the past that not everyone was disrespectful, but the majority of the guys had no respect. And what they respected was the dollar and nothing more.